British Order of Disobedience, and I am the brand new team member for ROCKSTAR Lifestyle magazine. This is my very first one, so I'm kind of nervous, so bear with me. And we are here with Mr. Michaele Graves.
Everybody's calling me Mr.
No.
I'm hearing Mr. a lot.
So Michaele, yeah, good to see you again.
Good to see you again.
Thank you again for all the work we did with Surf and Dead on that show. That was cool.
You're welcome.
So, how do you like playing in Florida?
I love to play in Florida. I have family in Florida.
Yeah.
I as well have fond memories of Florida. I've done a lot of cool stuff down here. From some of the first tattoos I got in Port St. Richie.
Oh, right on.
Again, like I said, I have family in Orlando.
Cool.
I've done some really cool stuff here,
Right
so
on.
I love to play Florida. Florida as well, it makes me think of bands like Cannibal Corpse and
Of course.
like real heavy, dark music that always was coming out of Florida.
Tampa Bay was the heavy metal capital of the world.
Yeah.
Right.
Florida always had a certain sound.
Right. What are you currently working on? Like, are you doing anything anything new? Are you working on anything new, or?
Well, I've been real focused on the American Monster Tour.
Okay.
I've really been focused mostly on performing and being really great live.
Right. Well, you've always been kind of awesome at that.
Thank you.
I've always
I appreciate
appreciated
it.
that.
I'm trying to get
You've
better.
You've always been one of my favorites.
Thank you.
Yep.
I'm trying to get better. So again, I've really been focusing on this tour and this music. My message throughout this tour.
Right on. And what's your message on that? Like, what do you?
I have been preaching a lot about connectivity.
Right.
It's been 25 years since I started with the Misfits, and more so than ever before in my career, I'm meeting moms and dads who are bringing their kids who are now 15, 16 years old.
Isn't that amazing? It's like it's the future of our generation, of our scene, like it's the future generation.
Recognizing the profound connection that we have in music, specifically in this music and my music that we make, is a way to show people that there are higher things happening. There's more energy in the world that's happening.
Right.
And through all of that, and through the connection, especially with this music, that starts at the beginning of my career.
Right.
There's still things that I believe hit the zeitgeist of what's happening today that we can talk about. But more so, the messages that I and we, my team, most of all, we love the fact that we see people smiling. We're giving people hugs.
Yep.
I have the distinguished blessing to be able to look in people's eyes. A lot of young people and people who are hurting, they tell me stories of things that they're struggling with, that they're hurting with in their life. And,
we hear that a lot too.
And they say they come to the show and the music, and so it's a wonderful
resurrects
thing.
their soul a little bit.
Absolutely.
Doesn't it?
It certainly does help save it, yes.
That's an amazing feeling, I bet, for you.
And also I've been talking a lot about the scene, the punk rock scene, and the scene that I've come up in as well.
I'm from South Venice, Florida, and I remember as a kid growing up, like every kid in school that I went to school with, they were all like you and I are only a year apart, in age, and at that age, it was just like the best thing that happened to kids our age. Like the message and the music was just so. It was so loving, it brought people together. They all went out. It sounded like we would play one of your songs. Everybody knew every word. We'd all just be like, yeah, like singing along to it. There was a chance to just forget about anything else and sing to the music and feel good about it,
So you're old enough to remember, like me, how the 80s felt, right?
Yes.
Say what you want about the music. I love those bands, Skid Row, Motley Crue.
Yes.
It seemed like music, like rock could save the world.
Definitely.
Remember, like Band-Aid and Farm Aid came to be, and the Moscow Peace Festival. That was crazy. We saw the Berlin Wall fall down.
Yes, I know.
Oh my God.
Buttercup. Oh yes. That's our mascot, Buttercup. We named our album and our tour after the fucking baby. He's more famous than us.
I've been talking a lot about demons, so that's crazy.
Right. So, I have to ask you, what inspired you to start doing what you do now? Like, what got you into music? What were the bands and the artists when, you know, we were kids and thinking about where our lives are going? What pushed you to do what you do now?
The first dream in my heart till I was about 6 or 7 was to be a preacher.
Really?
I wanted to be a preacher and preach the Word of God. And then at about 6 or 7, music, all of a sudden, it cauterized in my mind. I always recognized it from about 5, that music, I felt it.
It speaks to your soul. It just
Yes.
fucking grabs you, right?
Right, it was the same
thing, yeah.
Well, it was the same feeling that I had that, remember, I wanted to be a preacher, that I had when I was reading the Bible or meditating on God or Scripture.
Right.
And so there was something with it. But so the dream changed, and then I couldn't get enough of music.
Yep.
So the artists that, back then I listened to a lot of stuff that like my parents listened to or that was on the radio, and that time was like Simon and Garfunkel, listen to like Bruce Springsteen or Don McLean or Hall & Oates or Jay Giles Band, David Bowie. I was an MTV kid, right? So,
yeah, right. Back when they played videos.
Right. Ozzy Osbourne was huge. I loved Danzig. I loved the Ramones.
Definitely,
And so I just ingested it all. I was a theater kid too, so I loved theater music. I love classical music. I love Bob Dylan. I love the Doors, the Black Crowes.
Oh my gosh, I literally put my father's ashes on Jim Morrison's cemetery 4 years ago. That was like a personal pilgrimage for me. I grew up to the words of the Doors. So,
my mom loved Barry Manilow, and so I remember, and my father loved Barry Manilow too, and Billy Joel. So there was a lot of music like that.
You grew up in pretty much like the same household. It sounds like,
And
There's a lot of Rocky Horror though.
I love Rocky Horror too as well. So there was a short time in my life it was like, oh, I'm not listening to that. That ain't cool.
Right.
But I got rid of that, and and so that goes back to if a song moved me, then I would listen to it.
Right.
So people try to make that like, you know, I like preacher thing to the music thing, and that's where the connection is that I felt it in my heart and in my soul.
Right.
And again, coming up, I remember in the 80s, and we were scared that the fucking world was going to blow up.
Definitely, yeah.
And it was, but then we also saw peace come to our world for a very short time, and the way that music, especially pop music and pop culture, pushed that, it was a beautiful thing, and I felt that in my heart, and I always wanted to be a part of that. I always wanted to be a part of that.
I can definitely relate to that.
And reach people and help them get through.
You were a child and you knew what you were born to do.
I did.
At a very young age.
I always knew.
The music just fucking hit your soul, and you knew what you were born to do.
I always knew, and that's why. And again, with my adherence to God, knowing that, all right, if I'm sure and I do my best to believe that I'm carrying out His will through my destiny, and I just apply my talents, and I'm not saying that I'm a saint.
Nobody's.
I am truly fucking broken, people. But if I just so I believe that if I just kept my head down and just believed, and used my talents, that somehow it would work out. Things would be okay.
Yeah.
And that's why when the Misfits opportunity came up, I said, this is interesting.
Right. Now, I remember when I was with the band, the Surfin' Dead, you kind of, we opened up for you in St. Pete, and you went into this, awesome story about how you had a path to do this or that, and you chose the path to sing and play music. Tell me about that. That was such a great story. I would love to hear it again and capture it. You had 2 different roads to choose, and you chose this one. So tell me how you came to that,
and
how you landed on that.
Pardon me as I do this.
No, do it. It's great.
So, at a point in my career, I don't know, 10 years ago or so, 12 years ago, at a point in my career, because of where I was, I had to make a decision about if I wanted to continue doing music.
Right.
And so, you know, I talk about destiny, and I talk about my spiritual life and trying to stay with my destiny. One of those examples is the case in me making that decision where I got away from music because all I found in music was darkness.
Right. That's a
And
sad day.
it was horrible to be on the road. I didn't want to do everything. Everything just hurt. Everything hurt. And I wanted a different sort of life than I found doing what I was doing. So I did a bunch of different things, and I eventually as well, I became an EMT.
No kidding. That's amazing. Our singer's an EMT as well. Yeah.
So
It's great.
So I started doing that, and all along praying. I'm trying to find my way. I don't know what's happening. If this is the right thing, if it's not.
Sounds like you have a soul that wants to help people.
Oh, of course.
Reach them. And
I wanted to be a preacher.
that's amazing.
It all comes
you
to
want to
that.
help people live life happily.
So, one day I'm on call for the town that I'm riding for, and a call comes that it's called Man versus Train. And I was living where I grew up, and my apartment was maybe 300 yards from the train track. So I recognized where the incident had happened, and so I got in my truck, and it was literally right up the street from where I was. The train had stopped. It was a rainy day. I immediately knew that there was a small mental health facility, like right, again, maybe 200 yards from where this guy was supposed to be laying. And so I get there, I hop out of my truck, and I hop through the cars that on the train that had stopped, and there's a guy laying there, and there's two police officers attending to him. He tried to step in front of the train as it was coming, and it struck him, and it threw him about, I don't know, 40, 50 yards.
That's heavy.
And I was the first guy to get there, and so I attended to him, did what I did. It started raining, and it was just crazy. We loaded him into the back of the ambulance in the best, in stable condition, which was wonderful. He was conscious the whole way there, and as a medic, I got all the information along with the officers, and he was a young man. He was married. He had children. I saw the pictures of his children. Again, I was a medic over him, so I was speaking to him and trying to elicit, which I did, information from him. And he just kept on telling me over and over I had a bad day. I just had a bad day.
You just couldn't do it anymore.
So in the back of that ambulance, it all came together. It coalesced for me. I knew, because again, as somebody, as an EMT, you see people in bad shit, and their families as well. If grandma's sick on the floor and she's dying, maybe
I think the families is like the hardest.
it's rough. So in the back of that ambulance, it dawned on me that perhaps that maybe this whole music thing might be about me getting to people before they stepped in front of the train.
That's fucking beautiful. Oh my God.
And that perhaps that God wanted me and needed me to get back out there and to play for people and say, hey man, it's going to be all right. Don't step in front of that train until you come and you see me again.
That's heavy.
And so I started to turn my life towards that.
That's beautiful. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That is so, and I mean, I can
Thank you.
certainly tell you've succeeded in that. Like when we were younger kids, I grew up a very, alienated child and this and that. I was a very, fat girl, the picked on kid, constantly bullied, and then Bean Club came out. And it was like, and the whole song, it felt like it was all about, you have a home, you're not alone. Like there's a club for kids that feel the way you do. Like
yes.
I would do anything to get, sent to school. I skipped school. And the music saved my life back then. And I always remember that song, Beat Club, just
That's amazing.
totally hugging my heart so close. And it's like somebody gets it, somebody understands. The kids, I feel like there's nobody there for them. The music and that song was always there for me. You know,
You're gonna appreciate what happens tonight.
oh my God, I always appreciate it.
And that's exactly it. And specifically that song as well,
You
where
changed my life with that song.
well, thank you, and for you knowing that I've changed your life and you expressing that to me, and everybody declares it over me every night in profound ways. I say that as well, that you've saved me, because again, those gifts and whatever power I have, that for when I write these songs, it resonates inside you like that. I was that kid too, right? I was that kid too.
You sing it with so much power, your words, like, you don't sing a song like that. You do not sit down and find those words unless you've lived it, and it comes through in your voice and how the song is that you lived it.
I was telling a story last night, or the night before, in Alabama when we played, and again, especially for that song that came out on Famous Monsters, obviously the record after American Psycho, that we got to tour with Megadeth on, which was an amazing, that's a whole other story.
Okay.
Talk about angels in my life.
If you want to talk about that,
I'll definitely segue into that. But I was a young kid when I started in punk rock. Punk rockers and skinheads were still fighting each other. There was still a very violent rift. And you remember, right?
Remember that.
That violence was real.
Divide.
That violence was real, and the Misfits were right in the middle of that and part of that. So one of the wonderful things that we had achieved through our music and that I had recognized is that one of the reasons that the Misfits is so coalescing, that we could help in healing two factions to come together. So people say, why? Well, because the Misfits, we sing about off-world entities, aliens, maybe an alien signal from a different world that is coming for, and they're going to come for me, they're going to come for you. Doesn't matter if you're a punk or a skinhead. So that brings us back to that we're all humans.
That's
and
so beautiful.
right, same thing in the 80s where Ronald Reagan said, maybe we'll all come together if we knew that there were UFOs coming or an off-world energy that was threatening all of us. All of a sudden, all that shit would melt away. And that is one of the reasons that the Misfits is so great, because we're singing about a common enemy that's a threat to all of us.
That's always come through in the music.
And then all the wonderful allegories of horror and what monster movies represent. So it's a wonderful thing to be able to bring people together.
Absolutely.
And so back to the Megadeth thing, where I always talk about these angels that were in my life, and I remember those guys so much, and especially Dave Mustaine, because for whatever reasons, him and I clicked, and I saw the way that he was with other people, and he was very different with me. And it was a time where, I guess Dave and me, the whole band, they were spiraling off something, and something's always happening. But Dave always made a point to hang out with me and talk to me. And one of the last times I saw him, when we were saying goodbye after the tour was over that we were on, he basically told me, with his arm around me, you take care of yourself. You stay confident. You remember who you are. Stuff like that. He spoke to my soul, and he honored me. And for somebody like that to do, and he didn't have to. It's Dave Mustaine. He doesn't have to do that. He was like a spitting cobra to everybody else, and we would go off and we would laugh and so again, like, I'm just some kid from Dumont, New Jersey, that got a great break, and for wonderful people like him, Pete Steele. On and on, right? All these incredible people that I've gotten to work with and be with in my life.
You too. I can see
They've come to me and they put their wings around me. Yeah.
That's a really good description of how to, like, that's a really awesome way to put it. In my journey, I've tried to, that's like the best way to throw it into words, like the people that kind of speak to you, pull you in, they see what you're trying to do, and they're like, bro, you're doing it, you know, you're doing it right, and they give you their little stamp of, you know, rock on, and they're excited to see what you can do, you know? That's such a great story about how, like, the other artists touch your soul, and
Dave Brocky
comes through, and how you sing, how you, like,
the boys from Anthrax.
Yeah, you're not just a singer, like, you're an entertainer, and you can so see, like, you love everything about what you're saying, what you're doing. Every show I've ever been to see you, you've always been so fan-friendly, you've always been interested in seeing what people have to say, or it's just always been great to watch you do what you do, you know? It's always been a pleasure to, you know, open for you as well. This is the second band that I'm in now. Jonesy, right here, is the Distinguished Order of Disobedience bass player, my singer, and this is the second band I've had now where we get to share the stage with you, and it's awesome. I don't know, your passion shines in everything.
Thank you.
What comes to the future for you? Like, are you working? Like, what are your goals for the future?
Well, I'm working on relaunching my podcast.
Okay.
I've been working on 2 different books.
Right on. Right on.
His book's gonna come out at the end.
I can't wait to read them.
I'm getting ready to do an acoustic tour in the spring.
That was the first time I saw you when you did one of those.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
But when I go home, I shift gears. To being a father. I have 3 small children.
Oh, awesome.
I have a 10-year-old, 7-year-old, and a 2-year-old son who's just starting to talk. So when I go home, I really focus my attention on being a dad.
Of course, yeah.
And I live on a big tract of land in a very small, old, crickety farmhouse.
Right on.
In New York State.
Sounds like heaven.
On a little farm. Yeah, so it's real quiet, and I just wander off into the woods and go on hikes and just be real quiet and let my soul kind of...
Your chill time is...
Yeah, let my soul regenerate and reflect back all this energy and all the lessons that I pick up on journeys like this, so that my children can have a better understanding of the world, and they can grow up and be excellent and love life and love the world like I do.
Absolutely. Nothing is guaranteed. I mean,
yeah, and reach out to other people too, and say, like, I know it hurts, but we get through this together. And
I love it. I'm huge on that too. Yeah. I love that. So your kids know they have, like, the most awesome father on the planet. Like, what do your kids, like, think about?
They love it.
Yeah.
They love it. They make me feel like Superman.
I
make me feel like Godzilla, and I can take down Tokyo.
That's so cool.
Yeah. It's amazing. Really amazing. They have revealed more to life than obviously I could ever imagine. My mom said that they would. I didn't really believe her, so much, but yeah, just amazing. I love being a dad.
That's so cool. Yeah, we all got kids. We love it too. Like, I think I've always found when you raise kids around the music, you come up with the most, inspired, artistic, well-rounded, children. We've been watching kids grow up in punk and heavy metal for years, and they always, like, end up being some of the most awesome, young people. That's cool, man. Like, do your kids ever inspire any of your work?
Sure. I wrote a song called All the Troubles. I'd like to teach the world a song that'd make all your troubles feel like they were gone. I'd take the rain, I'd turn it into sun, so that all your troubles would be gone. Yeah, a lot of my children.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, my children inspire inspire me in a huge way.
That is so cool.
And another reason why I live my life the way that I do, and so that other young men can look at the way that I live my life. Not perfect, trust me, not perfect,
right.
but in the way that I do, so that when I do go home and I have to look at those little children and they wonder why daddy's gone, I'm just not out being a punk rock singer. I'm out changing the world, and I'm doing God's work, and I'm helping people, and I'm making people smile, maybe just getting them through a day, maybe
right.
just, in profound ways, and I'm changing the world. I'm using the things that I have to the best of my ability.
You found your purpose, and you're just shooting hard at it. That's awesome.
Right, I'm changing the world and using my time for good, so that when it's time for me to go on to whatever's next, I've left behind a story of positivity and hard work, because nothing comes without hard work and sacrifice and pain. So many young people, they think that everything's supposed to feel good, and that's not it. Especially men, especially if you're a man, it's different.
Right. Well, there's so much put onto, you're not allowed to cry. You're not allowed to have a bad day.
Well, those things are right.
I think that's bullshit.
It's the comfort. It's comfort. Everything is not comfortable. Sometimes your feelings get hurt. Sometimes you're uncomfortable. Sometimes you have to do things and go through things that are uncomfortable.
Right.
And I could talk an hour about culture and the things that have contributed to that sort of thing.
Right.
But wrapped up, basically, it's that there's a lot of wounded souls, people that hurt, and it's demonstrable. Suicide rates are up. There was a study, 82% of Generation Zers and millennials in Europe describe their life as worthless and horrible.
They have no hope.
Drug abuse, depression, anxiety across the boards. People are hurting in profound ways. And music and entertainment operates, especially music, operates on a spiritual level,
of course.
A higher level than anything else.
Right.
Speech, anything else. Music resonates at a higher level and reaches you in deep ways. And so one of the things I'm doing, and I encourage other people to as well, is to reach people through music like we're doing.
Absolutely.
And just make them smile.
Right.
Just bring joy to their life and say, I recognize you. No different than you.
It can save
and I love
lives.
you.
Music saves lives. What was the song that saved you when you were having a hard time? Like, if you could say, I was having the worst time in my life, and this song
That's a great
saved my soul.
Nobody ever asked me that.
What song is that for you?
I don't know.
Like the band, even, or?
I'm a huge U2 fan, so
Right
it
on.
would probably be. It's funny, people either go like, "Oh, cool, all right, U2," or they go, "Oh." There's no in between. I don't know. I don't know all of them, like all of them collectively.
It's like somebody asking you what your favorite song. I can never answer. I'll give you a top 10. But
Yeah,
that's it.
it really it's like, yeah. I mean, there's different parts of my life that I needed saving, and there were
Right.
different songs at that time that were speaking to me.
Yeah.
Again, all with the same energy, right?
Right,
But it's
right,
just
right.
a different angel that shows up,
Yep.
and that's the point.
Absolutely.
That's the point. We're all doing the same thing. We're all doing the same work.
Totally identify.
Just dressing it up different.
Well, your song "Bean Club" definitely saved my soul when I was a kid, or when you and I were kids. And I would say, I don't know, like I would think, I don't know. For me, I think it was that
Older kids.
Marilyn Manson's Lunchbox. This like the kid that got sick of getting fucking bullied and decided to fight back. And then the Bean Club came out, and it was like, you have a home, like you're a part of a club. It's cool. Calm down. It's okay to be scared. It's okay to feel the way you feel. And yeah.
I think Youth Gone Wild. I remember when the first time I heard Skid Row, and it was this like amalgamation of punk rock and New Jersey, like Bon Jovi, as mighty and great as
Right.
they are and were. They were more like, I might beat John Bon Jovi up in school, right? But I would totally be hanging out with Sebastian and those other guys. Like, I would be in that band, right? So it was like punk rock, but it was the kids that didn't, you know, it's like they didn't have the money to buy the great instruments, but they were great players.
They were trying.
Right, and they just had this energy that was so different than anything else, right? And Sebastian, he was so big and skinny, and he was even more of a, you know, like a spitting cobra, even more so than Axl was, right? And as great as Guns N' Roses were, they were a West Coast band, so it was different, right? They were singing about a different sort of Skid Row, like a different sort of angst and an anger. So I think when I heard Skid Row, I was like, all right.
Perfect example.
All right. That's what I'm shooting for. And there's another great example. When I was a kid, I was driving down the shore, and I stopped in South Jersey somewhere at a 7-Eleven, and Rachel Bolan and those guys were getting out of a car, and we walked up to them, and I was like, oh, my God, right? And they were so cool. They were so cool. They took a picture.
I've always found that when punk, you know, and rockers are always, like, so happy. They're just like,
my life is crazy.
Like, hey, they're nice.
I told you that story. Skid Row is one of the great, my favorite bands in the whole world. And my life is so that I can tell a story of Sebastian and I, who studied under the same teacher in New York City. And Sebastian's lesson used to be right before mine. So I would go there early because it was like the room where you did the thing with Don was right there. So you would just sit there, and I would sit there and I would listen to Sebastian do his things. And, you know, sometimes he would have hard lessons where it would just be like, but he would come out, he'd be like, hey, you know, hey man, what's all he's done? And we were like, just like Sebastian is.
That's epic. That's awesome.
And again, and I don't name drop. It's just
you show appreciation.
There are so many incredibly wonderful people that are cornerstones of the music that I've come across, whether it was guys from the Sex Pistols or the Ramones.
Oh yeah.
And all of these people around me, and again, it always goes back to, I'm Michael Emanuel from Dumont, New Jersey, and I can't believe my life. Thank you for it. All of you, thank you.
I'm so in touch with that, too. That is such a great feeling. That's awesome.
It is. I paint, you know, it's incredible.
I will say, when I was 13, I got caught stealing Slave to the Grind. The day it came out at Kmart, I got caught stealing.
Yes.
That's awesome.
And Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself.
No, he did not.
Thank you. All right, Michael, thank you so much for your time. I'm going to get out of your hair and let you get ready. I understand the whole prepping and the makeup and all that.
Right on.
So thank you so much for your time.
Awesome talking to you.
It's so good to talk to you. It's so good to see you again. I can't wait to see what you have tonight.